Hi everyone, this is Arpad from the YouTube channel StarPath Academy, and today I will be answering two questions. Both of the questions come from This Is Not Charles. The question goes, wouldn't government employees' salaries keep up better than the private sector at the beginning of hyperinflation? Or are governments already mean and lean as well at that point? So first of all, I want to thank everyone who has donated through Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, and everyone who has subscribed to my Patreon and who has used the buymeacoffee.com links to make sure that this channel is up and running. You guys keep it going. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Please join the Telegram chat because that is usually where I get my questions, and those are the things I usually answer. All right, however, do comment on the YouTube videos because I read them as well, and we need to keep feeding the algorithm. So post something funny. All right, so the question was that government employees and their salaries. So what you have to think about is that government doesn't pay you well because they love you, right? They pay the minimum amount that you go to work for. So now, if you happen to be a general and you happen to have, a lot of military command under your belt or whatever, then the situation is completely different. But it's going to be very top heavy. The payments are going to be very heavy at the top during hyperinflation. And if you're just a gun toter at the beginning, at the very bottom, then you're going to be cannon fodder. So what I'm saying is that they're going to keep the generals well fed for sure. The ones they keep and they don't execute during these times. So depending on which side you're on, and hopefully we're not in a civil war, you might gonna be booted, right, or executed, depending. So it depends on what kind of political situation we would get in through hyperinflation. In many cases, hyperinflation was actually, in the ones that we lived through and I lived through, was actually coming out of communism. So it was not that violent in the sense we did have a revolution that was violent, but afterwards we didn't have like the big purge or something like that maybe even should have happened. Of course, peaceful purge, but it didn't necessarily happen. But what I'm saying is that in those cases, government employees, especially bottom employees, are doing worse as anyone else, because usually their services, first of all, government services are completely broken, and you're not getting paid much, and government needs to be leaned down by that time in order for the fix to happen. So if that is when we have a very authoritarian system that is going through hyperinflation and the old system is dying. So very authoritarian, and then the old system is dying. So in those cases, government employees are pretty much null and void, and you pay them because they're with bribes, basically. So they're sitting at their desk, they're doing their jobs. As long as they have some client-facing job, they usually get paid by a chicken or something like that, because you want to get ahead of the line. Very similar to medical employees. But if you're at the very top, then you're gonna be, and you have wielding power, especially military or police power at the very top level in a corrupt system, you're gonna get paid very well. But it's also like Damascus' sword hanging over your head. So, you have to know if it's worth it or not. The other situation was, and this feeds into the second question from This Is Not Charles. The Venezuelan government was confiscating houses with outstanding tax bills, then giving them to their friends, family, and employees. Have you seen something similar? So I did interview someone from Venezuela who, she's told a lot, and this was a very common pattern, but she also told me that the government employees and bank employees, bank tellers, and that sort of stuff, they're not getting paid well at all. It's usually if they're in the part, so this is the other system where it's like a somewhat of a more free system going through hyperinflation into a more strict system, and usually the strict system steps in first and their solution is hyperinflation. So you have a very open system or somewhat open system, a very strict system comes in like a dictatorial system, and then their first solution is hyperinflation because they have nothing else to do. That happened in Romania when the first Romanian dictator got installed, so in the 50s, right? So I have some stories from there. They locked up. Yeah. Anyway, what I'm saying is that if they eventually needed to bring back the original finance minister, who wasn't communist at all, because the hyperinflation happened then as well. So what I'm saying is that in those cases, government employees also don't get paid unless they are very high position, but those positions are thicker. So think about it like this: if the pyramid is like this and we're going from a very strict system like a communist dictatorship into a free system, only the very, very top will get paid well. If we're moving into communism, maybe the top half of the pyramid will get paid well and the bottom will get wiped out anyway, because they're going to be installing their nieces into those positions. So if you're not someone's niece from up above, then you're going to get booted and probably you're going to do worse than the free market. So depending on what position you have and how much power you're wielding in, especially military power, police power, then your situation is going to be different. But if you're a paper pusher somewhere in the government for some type of agency that kind of is there because it needs a budget and it's consuming a lot of money and somebody just needs to get paid, and then they hired a bunch of people for him or her to make sure that government goes on and consumes as much of your tax dollars as possible, then that's going to be trimmed off, because at that point, well, let me tell you this: government grows, and especially government grows just so it's such a big burden on the system, so the system collapses by design. So if you take a look at Yuri Bezmenov's video, how you can subvert a country, or there's even a theory for this. Oh man, yeah, I should have prepared this one. Yeah, so there's, anyway, I'm gonna probably put it in the comment section. There's a big theory where in the Telegram, someone talked about it, Telegram channel, where you can overburden the social system to the point where it bankrupts itself, and after the bankruptcy you can bring in real social change, which is a complete idiotic theory, but they even tried this at some point. Yeah. Oh, I need to look it up. So like, oh yeah, these idiots. The clovered pivot strategy. So CLOWARD dash PIVEN strategy. So clovered pivot is a political strategy outlined in 1966 by American sociologist geniuses, political activists Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven. The strategy aims to utilize militant anti-poverty groups to facilitate the political crisis by overloading the welfare system via an increase in welfare claims, forcing the creation of a system of guaranteed minimum income and redistribution income through federal government. So basically communist, but like the people who actually believe in communism, because most of the communists who get installed into power, they're not communist. They usually use communism, the ideology or idiocracy, or whatever you want to say it, in order to gain power, right? And they're, in their hearts, they're not really communists, but then these guys truly believe that people are equal, no matter they believe that they can force them to be equal. And this, only if we collapse this society and people die of hunger, then we'll be able to come up with this new strategy, and then that will work for sure this time, right? So so what I'm saying is that you're putting your faith in the wrong corner if you are not a very high ranking military member and you are willing to do anything in order to serve your masters. Then you're gonna get paid well during these times. If not, then probably not. So that's it. Please go ahead and comment something funny, something nice, to be sure to feed the algorithm, and talk to you next time.